Hello, and welcome to GovCon After Hours. We are your hosts, Dr. Robin Desmore and myself, Caitlin Ruiz. Today on GovCon After Hours, I'm thrilled to welcome Irene. This is someone who truly embodies grit, resilience, and saying what needs to be said. She spent 31 years in the Army as a military police officer, serving in places like Germany, Iraq, and Afghanistan, all before transitioning into federal leadership roles and ultimately into entrepreneurship, which is where she is today. She leads a company, Spahr. She's the CEO. They're an SBA certified SDVOSB and woman-owned small business supporting federal and DOD customers. And in that role, she brings a no-nonsense, battle-tested perspective to leadership, survival, and success in GovCon. She's also the author of Choose Your Battles, where she shares the hard lessons, humor, and determination it takes to keep going when the system feels stacked against you. And this is going to be one of those honest, unfiltered conversations, and I can't personally wait to dive in. Our title for this one is going to be Grit on the Rocks, Sarcasm Set Aside, and Surviving the New Era. So really what we're hoping to do today is to have a conversation about SDVOSBs and women-owned small business founders, how they survive and stay sane in an increasingly complex federal contracting environment, from shifting acquisition strategies and tighter scrutiny to leadership resilience, and even using humor as a coping mechanism. So we're really hoping to explore what it truly takes to succeed here when the system, again, seems stacked against you. And with that, I'll actually hand it over to Dr. Desmore to kick us off.
First, what are we drinking, ladies?
This one is Pinot.
Oh, you got Pinot. I got
Pinot as well with ice, though, because it was warm.
What's warm? What's this thing you call warm, Caitlin? And unlike my appearance suggests, these really aren't earmuffs, but we'll just run with that. Since I couldn't get other stuff to work, here I am in my earmuffs.
Well, cheers, and thank you. Thanks for being here, Irene. Honestly, it's a pleasure and one of my favorite people. So I am absolutely happy to have you here and ask you some very pointed questions. And I'm sure we're going to have some deep dives and some sidetrack squirrels. But with that, we'll go with, all right, so I'm also a service disabled woman-owned small business. And the important pieces of everything we're going to be asking you is very relevant to me as a whole. And I know Caitlin is kind of a right-hand person to me in many, many ways. So I think we're both going to get a lot out of this. But with the humor, we love to laugh. So we're just go with this. Okay. So government contracting, obviously right now, everything is kind of moving fast and slow at the exact same time, but there's new compliance. There's lots of changes going on with FARs and DFARs and stuff, and everything is evolving. The acquisition model is evolving. The people are evolving. And one of the things we're having bigger conversations about, obviously the AI, the tighter budgets, whatever it may be, but from your perspective, as well as SDVO, VOSB, WOSB, blah, blah, blah.
Have some more wine, Robin.
I know, right? What are the shifts that you're seeing that are most disruptive right now for you and how your perspective, but also, where do you see the real opportunity for companies to adapt? Because that is hugely a big problem right now.
So first of all, I just want to register my hurt that Caitlin boiled down my 30-page resume to 2 paragraphs. That really hurts, Caitlin, because I worked really hard in jump school in 1983. And, that was a really important part of my bio. Listen, it's just a real thrill to be with you two. You know that we've done this together and had these conversations, and I promise to clean it up. But to answer all of those challenges that happened in 2025, I just want to say yes. I mean, they all happened and a lot more. I don't see DOGE on your list. And there was such a fallout from that. We experienced not just cuts in contracts as federal agencies were downsized or even practically disappeared, but we suffered financial loss, and our employees, some of them had to go home, and it was a tremendous challenge for us, not just for ourselves, but in leadership positions. And then you couple that with some of the support that we were getting from PTACs and the SBA and OSTBUs got cut out as well. Yep. All of that in and of itself would cause you to day drink. Now, day drinking is a cultural thing, so I have a really good excuse. My mother was from Germany. Germans, at least the way I was raised, didn't know what water was. So we saw a lot of it in the house, and it happened during the day. So disruption isn't new at all. We've been through this before. Mm-hmm. It's just we're not used to it coming at us so fast and furious. Mm-hmm. But it isn't new. And if you are a company that wants to survive, veterans and women, and those of us who are both, we've been surviving lots of disruption. That's what we do. Yeah. And the way I looked at that, I was thinking about it. We're used to doing two things on any mission. One is accomplishing the mission, and the other is accomplishing the perceptions of us and overcoming those. So you've got two things on your mind at the same time. If I was on a rifle range, I don't just have to worry about hitting all the targets. I also have to worry about not hitting the targets and it being attributed to me being a female. So I think that it's kind of ingrained in us to look at the broad spectrum of challenges, not just DOGE. And if we want to come up with strategies for pivoting, then we're just overcoming all of these obstacles. We actually need to start with humor, but you need to shore up your resources, and you need to play to the strengths of the people that managed to survive the cuts and look for ways to bring back the ones that didn't. If you take care of people, the rest will follow because they are your strength. So don't actually, I had a little quote from Jesus, and I say it with love. But in Matthew 26:41, he says, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Hey, we've got the spirit and we've got the wherewithal in the flesh. We're going to do this.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's actually a really good segue. I think one thing that I know comes up often, just in a lot of conversations with women in this space in GovCon, especially in entrepreneurship, is they'll say, what was the most shocking thing in your first couple of years, right? Or what did you not see coming, kind of lessons learned? And my number one response is always, essentially it boils down to grit, but what I call like your ability to expand and contract. Because to do this work, any work in this space, to own a business and to do it, and to be a woman in GovCon, and then everything feels stacked against you. So I find often always this talk about all this opportunity in GovCon, and but not enough about how stacked the system is against women specifically, and how, especially for veteran and women-owned founders in this environment, it takes a lot of grit. It takes an ability to expand and contract with the times. Mm-hmm. But how has for you, Irene, in your story and how you've come all the way to where you are there pockets of are there good stories you have along the way of like, man, I was on the floor that day, but I got the fuck up and I did the thing and I turned it around. The victories, right? Like, where are the triumphs and the victories? So I think the successes are as equally important to share. Like, there is hope. We're all here right now. We've all survived DOGE. We've all, to your point, I have clients that got slaughtered but are still here and are trying to rebuild. We're smart about pivots where they could be, tried to, do other DoD stuff, whatever. But I think the success stories are really important.
So you mentioned pivoting, and there are some things that have turned into platitudes for me. Pivot to commercial. Oh, that's easy. I've got 10 or under that people in my IT space. Microsoft, you really need me. But there's another meaning to the word pivot, and it also means adapt. Just figure it out. You've got strengths. I remember, because as Robin and you both know, I love attending events. I love attending NBSBC events and Vets 26 and other conferences that are held throughout the year. And there are certain threads in there that you hear. And one of them is, don't rely on your socioeconomic categories. And I know we're going to get to that later, but when we want to sort of, for lack of a better term, feel sorry for ourselves, let's just do that with our close friends. Not on this podcast, but in person. Let's just get together and say, this really sucks. And then pick yourself up and go out there and be someone that everybody wants to work with. Be someone that kind of makes a difference just by lighting up a room. I mean, and I think both of you know that. And this isn't like hard tactical skills about what to do to pivot, but it takes the 3 P's: pivoting, perseverance, and Pinot Grigio. I'm just saying. Have a sense of humor, laugh at yourself. But you better not laugh at others, because that's not going to work.
Drink on that one. That was fantastic and very, very accurate. I mean, there's a lot of longevity, and also I'm also a big person on the pivot. Pivot. You're going to have to. You should have multiple pivots of things, especially when things go bad. Okay, so if we're talking about industry and we're talking about the complexity and the stressfulness, because we don't just do one thing, we do 12 things, and we try to do all 12 things great at the same time. But as leaders, we're expected to also absorb pressure from every direction. As women, we're even worse at that, right? Or better at that. I'm not even exactly sure which way you want to pivot that conversation, because it could be either or. It's a detriment, it's a pro and it's a con at the same time. But okay, so you have your humor. We love to laugh, and we obviously love to drink when we laugh, so it makes the laughter even funnier at that point. But the sarcasm, the humor, the amount of other ways of coping, I'm going to call them slight coping mechanisms, whether it's a group of women who are all going through the same thing, we all can discuss it. But have you ever, as a leader, looked at how to navigate it differently on team? I mean, I appreciate the fact that you did say, you get your friends together, you guys, say it and then get it out of the way. But when you look at it from a much bigger perspective, keeping the teams grounded, push back on frustrations without burning the bridges. There's a lot to be said about, and Caitlin and I are very notorious for, where's the matches? We're going to throw the bridge, blow it all up and just keep walking, right? But it's an important part of it. You have to be willing to let go of whatever it is that's behind you in order to move forward anyway. So what is your humor strategy for leadership? Like, you're going to say, okay, this is all funny, this is all great, but sometimes it still hurts and it still impacts you in multiple ways.
Well, I'll start with humor first, because I can't get away from that, because laughter produces serotonin. So every time you laugh, you're getting this little buzz to your brain, and it gives you a jolt. And now, why don't we just pass that on? But you're right, you can't just make everybody laugh. But if you can make yourself laugh, it's a good start, because then you're sort of inspiring others to kind of have some energy, see that this person knows how to smile, but also connect. And I think connecting is more important than any of these things. These are just kind of tools in our kit bag. So because I love people and humanity, I've actually been doing volunteer work since I was like a very small girl. And I won't get into all that, but if you've ever been a Brownie Girl Scout, you learn how to do community projects. And I just developed a love for humanity, and it all kind of starts there. And so really, I think one of the biggest things you do need to do as a leader is bring everyone together. I mean, I watched in the Army this incredibly unpopular action that had to do with downsizing. It was called the Base Realignment and something Commission. In any event, it meant that a lot of bases were closing. And you probably remember this. It really affected a lot of people in those towns where their bases were closing. And it forced people to have to make really tough decisions. And where I was working in Georgia at the time, Fort Gillem, which has been bracked, I saw people having to get apartments up in Illinois where the new base was. And and leave their high school kids back at home with the mom and get back. So, like I said, disruptive change is not new. But how did they handle that? How did the leaders handle that? They brought everyone together and let them voice their concerns. And it's funny how much you feel better after just saying what's on your mind. It isn't complaining. Well, it is, but it's kind of saying, here's the reality. My kid's going to go through high school now, and I might miss prom. Well, guess what? You're going to miss prom if you're deployed. You're going to miss prom if somebody on the other side of the country who's a relative passes away. There's so many reasons why these adversity isn't just now because of DOGE. There's so much adversity in our world that developing coping mechanisms early is a skill that will translate to any of those challenges. So I'm gonna give a funny little example. So I try to make myself laugh, and sometimes I run out of material. But wherever I go, and I go a lot of places, I try to find a great place to walk, and I mean walk long if I can get away with it, because that's how I clear my head. And I'm on this long walk out in Weatherford, Texas, somewhere near where I have kids and grandkids. And I'm kind of looking down because I'm clumsy and I trip a lot. And in the middle of the road, and there's nothing but hill country and farms, is a run over, flattened fork. I was laughing so hard, it was a fork in the road. I took a picture of it. I should have just grabbed the fork, because we always have to pick one way or the other. And that includes spontaneous, snap decisions that you have to make. And, you may have to make them on the smallest scale. I'm in this room and I'm networking and I'm connecting with somebody that I haven't seen in a while, and somebody else I haven't seen in a while is just standing there like, I want my time to connect with you. And do I tell someone I'll get back with them? Do I tell the person I'm engaged in this great conversation with that I'm done next? It's just life. It's just negotiating life. And 2025 was a rough patch. There just wasn't a lot of goodness that came out of it. But at the same time, coming out the other end is incredibly cathartic. Hey, look, this agency just opened up a new requirement, and it's set aside for small business. Doesn't care what category of small business, but we're a small business. Now we have to compete with more small businesses. Guess what? We got to up our game. The main thing is to stay in it and put on your boxing gloves.
There's a level of resilience that goes on with that particular piece of it, because I'm all about the resilience of what we do, even as small businesses. Keep moving, keep building, and recover, move on, recover, build, grow on. Yeah.
And you say that, and you just made me think of something. Worry about the other small businesses too, and your own small business will do just fine. Like, help others. Help others in the same boat. Robin, I've had some dark moments. When I call you, you pick up. I don't know how many people you know. I suspect it's thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. But when I call you, you pick up. And we sit on the board at the NVSBC, and that whole organization exists to help small businesses. And they do that by advocacy and mentorship and networking. But primarily, it's a tribe. And that's why I get so excited to go to these things. I'll grab a pearl of wisdom, but at the same time, we're all swimming upstream together, the salmon. We're a little fish moving upstream. We're going to get there unless the bear grabs us, and then we become a casualty. But we're going to get there.
Yeah, that element of community is huge, right?
Yes.
That the shared knowledge, the shared resources, that's another thing I say all the time to anyone who's like willing to listen. Like, what lessons have you learned? What would you do? Like, I live by that: acts of service, doing as you would do unto others, like all of that matters. And in the moment, sometimes it's hard as shit to do, right? To do the right thing. It might cost you money. It might cost you a business. It might, whatever. But if you do the right thing, man, it comes back around tenfold. It always does. Yep. If you do the right thing by people, people do the right thing by you.
Mm-hmm. And that was the toughest thing that happened with DOGE. I think I had some employees that worked for Department of Agriculture on a contract, and I can't tell you how much I loved them. I loved them almost inappropriately. I loved them so much. Every one of them were naturalized citizens, and they had worked. One of them was supporting an extended family. She had a baby. Her mother came over, and I won't specify the countries. It's not important, but came and moved in. Then the father came, then the brothers, and she's making all the money and caring for a newborn. And I just was hurt so badly that when we all let them go, I didn't even know what to say, except please keep in touch. Please update your resume. We'll look out for you. And this was the hardest part. We didn't get any resumes back. It's like it was just overwhelming for them. And I hope and pray they're doing well. But those are the kind of hurts that aren't just them. It's also us. I mean, we care about people. We feel every bit as hurt by the DOGE cuts. So DOGE is just like the F-bomb. It is an adjective, it is a noun, and it is a verb. So I got dozed by the effing DOGE, and it's Doge-worthy to ignore DOGE. But it's funny because that was a thing. It was an act, and we all called it, now we're doged. But that to me, that was the most disruptive thing, and everything else was kind of creeping along anyway. There were like these parallel things. CMMC, very important, very expensive, very confusing. I just found out today that I can no longer get my email over to my phone because it's a .us and it was in control I wasn't aware of, and I'm like, great. Now I don't know what's happening if I'm out playing golf. Well, I wouldn't be doing that. But you know how you check your email when you're out doing stuff, send a little message by your phone. Not anymore, So it's a lot of adjustments, CMMC, and then you have the FAR, part 2 or 2.0. People are still trying to wrap their arms around that. And it's kind of not over till it's over. Like there's all this speculation, interpretation, what if, and then you couple that with investigations of small businesses, thousands of them that had 45 days to get all these documents together while they're doing a number of other things at the same time. And
I did it. It's not that it can't be done, and it was painful, and it was expensive to have, my CPA come in and do a lot of that thing. So I wholeheartedly, but there's a priority in some cases with it, and I'm all about stopping the fraud anywhere, and because it hurts us still in the long run, right? Because the true people who are there to do the right thing isn't always being rewarded.
Oh, Robin, I'm just going to do some push-ups. I know a beat down when I get one. Listen, you probably don't know this about me, but I'm a former inspector general at the highest level of government, Department of Defense. So I'm all about sniffing out fraud. I'm all about sniffing it out. I just felt a little sorry for the businesses that were given such a short period of time. And all right, never mind. We're going to move on to now. I see your face. Okay.
But well, that's part of, honestly, that's wait. That's part of the fun of this. So yes. Robin and I have been besties for a long time. We're on completely opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to things like this. I'm very, very left. She's very right. It's very, but I appreciate understanding someone else's perspective. And most of the time, I think there's valid points involved. So
Yes.
it was a middle road, right? But we're here for this. You're not alone.
You're not being beat down. Listen, I appreciate the perspective. I'm not, but I'm looking at it because I survived it. I had to do it. It hurt.
Because you're awesome.
And I had a business to run. I have, clients, and I had lots to do, but I still did it within the 45 days. I didn't know if I was going to make it either, but there was those pieces to it. And I'm not making excuses for anybody. It has more to do with, I want the things that are going to help raise small businesses up. That's truly what I want. And from my perspective, if I get people who are getting stuff who shouldn't be getting anything, and it allows the small businesses to actually say, oh, look there's more opportunities in different ways for us to grow into and survive a little bit differently.
No, it's a real thing. I mean, and that's the two-pronged. I'm hearing both ends against the middle when I get out and about, even in these conferences. Don't rest on your small business categories. Don't even put it on your website. Don't even put it on your card. And I'm like, well, I kind of look at this two ways, because there's another side of the coin. While I'm not looking for handouts or favors, I'm also going to, when put next to another business that's not an official small business, I'm going to help you, large prime, with your supplier diversity goals. So there you go. If I got to leverage being a woman and a veteran, then I'll leverage it. That's just street survival. But it is, and I love that about you too. And actually, I've always been that one in the middle that's looking at both sides and forming my own opinion. And I guess it's why I'm a Libra. The scales are constantly tipping.
I'm right there with you. I mean, it in the end, as Caitlin said, she's one of my best friends who I pretty much can share anything with, and she doesn't always agree with me. I don't always agree with her perspective, but we still stay bonded. It doesn't make us hate each other for the things that we appreciate on one side versus the other. But it also, especially how vulnerable we are as a whole, as small businesses, even in this crazy industry, I have to appreciate the fact that, if you're in the middle, and I do sometimes believe I'm in the middle. I mean, I might be on the right most of the time, but in the middle, I want to see everybody else's perspective. That's part of what I do as a whole. And you're the same way. You want to see everybody's perspective, and you want to empathize and sympathize in many ways with what they're actually going through. We've gone through it too, and you want to help. I'm all about helping. I never have the conversation about, politics, because it's irrelevant.
We're almost there, so let's back away.
No.
Back away from the politics.
Politics is a whole nother topic of conversation. It's never going to be on this podcast, because it's never going to be right or wrong. And it's not even that we're trying to be right or wrong here. It's more of can we have just a dialogue and then just let it go? But politics belong where they are, up in the Capitol, and not here in friendships, conversations, in an industry that we live off of what's happening in the Capitol.
We do. And, and I agree on all of the above. This is a safe space, which I really actually hate that word, because it's safe until you post it on your LinkedIn, and then all of a sudden,
it'll be edited. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, please. But it's a place where we do what we're very good at, which is kind of collaborate. I mean, if you're a team and you all think the same exact way, how boring is that? How non-innovative is that? How no fresh ideas is that? It's just what we make up the fabric of society, the fact that we do look at things differently. I mean, if I'm a mother, I'm going to take a different perspective, for example, on taxes in a school district than somebody else might. I don't care about taxes. I don't have kids. So we look at things from our own frame of reference. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I'm only first generation. Both of my parents escaped wars, and I was raised with a lot of grit. It was like, okay, we're not going to be strict. You can stay out as long as you want. But if all these things don't happen, that's the end of that. It was kind of this weird combination of holding me accountable while allowing me to grow unfettered. And I think it was kind of a lot of where I learned my lessons is from my childhood. And I think we can all about say the same thing, how to cope.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that isn't the saying enough rope to hang yourself with? Like they give you enough space to fuck up. Like it's on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think our last formal question was around set-asides, but I know that we've touched on it a number of times. So honestly, is there anything else you guys want to say as 8A? Obviously, Robin is 8A. So, and did you guys go to the conference? I know the conference was so weird this year because of the snowstorm, but Irene, you drove. Did you drive? Is that what happened?
Didn't make it.
Oh,
Didn't make it.
It. Okay.
I'm not a quitter, Caitlin. That's a really fun conference. I mean, and I loved it last year, but I just wasn't going to put myself into the mouth of the lion. It was just like the forecast. And so I didn't go. But Robin, I keep forgetting you're an 8A, actually. I just know that you're an SDVOSB and woman-owned. You're what they call the trifecta.
I do have tried anything but the hub zone, but it is like everything else, right? It's an area that it needs to grow and it needs to change, and in all honesty, it's not helpful because the community is very different. And I say that because in the 8A community as a whole, and Lord help me, I'm not trying to start any fights with anybody outside of this team, but it's just a different community, right? It's the service disabled or the veteran owned community is very, very close, and we all want to help each other out. Woman owned, it's the same exact way. The majority of the time we just all want to help each other and figure that piece out. The 8As are kind of like, some variation of something somewhere out there, but it's to learn how to build, your business and develop the company and grow and stuff like that. I just don't think there's enough tools out there to help them do that, personally.
Yeah, I mean, we dealt with the cards that were given.
Yes. Yep.
And I just remember, since we were going to say a few funny things about military service, but getting thrown into a different environment and then just finding humor in it. Let's go back to that. Yeah. So I got to leave the base in Kuwait. We're not supposed to leave the base in Kuwait, and it was during the war. And I had a friend who was civil military affairs. So his job was to interact with these rich guys that wore a lot of robes and those. Anyway, the Kuwaiti people have a lot of money. It's Kuwaiti oil. Yep. They're also very traditional Muslim society. So I go trotting out, and we wear civilian clothes. We actually it was the neatest thing. We actually had permits to carry handguns, weapons underneath our jackets and all, just your average lieutenant colonel, which is what I was. And that was just what we did for self-defense because we were in the middle of a war. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I was all excited. We were going to go to a barbecue. All right. So the first thing that happens is our vehicle pulls up, and I see nothing but these men in these white clothes. And I'm thinking, where are the women, right? And I'm like, I'm used to being the only female in the crowd. So I start going up to try to introduce myself, and I just feel this pulling motion. And literally one of these guys is yanking my arm. And he almost yanked it off. So I'm being dragged through this house while I'm trying to look around, and I get put unceremoniously in the back room where all the women have to be. No matter what's going on outside, they all have to be there, and their eyes got huge, a Western woman. And they were so curious, and they wanted to know all about me. And one of them had a little bit of English, and we got so friendly. I pull out my phone. I'm like, let's get pictures. And they're like, we got to put our hijab back over our heads. We don't get our picture taken showing our hair. And guess what? I lost the battle on trying to be one of the guys, but I won that war on learning about a cultural experience that made me go back and just reinforced my views that we're not the only society that sometimes treats our women like they're a little lesser beings, right? And so I found humor, but also poignancy in that moment. Now,
That's nice.
the black hats at jump school placing bets on whether or not I'd make it, that was a little less humorous.
We could go on for days in those conversations like that, in all honesty, but I'm going to let it go because I'm constantly being told that, no, it has nothing to do with you being a woman. Really? I mean, yeah. Okay.
I think
We'll
we're conflicted. I mean, we're being candid here. I think we're conflicted. I think sometimes, and I've heard it over and over again, they didn't give me that contract because or whatever it was, because I'm a woman. Yeah. One of the things I learned in the Inspector General office while I was reviewing all these cases of allegations against senior officials, and I was like, boy, I can't believe how many of these complaints come from people who say they received this adverse action because they were this female or this minority. You know, we just have to move beyond all of that, Robin and Caitlin. We just have to do our best to do our best. Yep. And try to remember that we're each other's tribe, but it can be a cold, cruel world sometimes.
Yep. Yeah, I think honestly, an interesting point to that though is also sometimes it's not directly tied to the action, right? Like I didn't lose the contract because I'm a woman, but let's say I lost the contract and because I'm a woman, the way that I wrote it, it was perceived as such. The way that I said XYZ, it was perceived as such because I'm a female. You know, that's why you lost the contract, right? It was perceived a certain type of way on the other side because you're a female most of the time, not honestly because you're a woman. But one last question for you, Irene, before we wrap it completely up with like and subscribe and never leave us and always come back and hear what we have to say is there anything that's not being talked about in the industry that you want to talk about? So obviously this is a super candid platform. Yep. And again, to the happy hour vibe of it all, we love to have the honest, candid conversation. So is there a topic, and it could be totally left field or directly tied to what we've been talking about, that hasn't had its moment to shine, or that you have strong feelings about and you'd love to kind of bring up?
I feel like if I'd have figured out how to do this podcast without the headset on, I'd be in a better place. But honestly, Caitlin, that's a very good question. There's something that's on my mind a lot. And that is the fact that you get to a number of employees and you become a slightly larger small business, or really a big small business. Mm-hmm. But those baby, toddler, and emerging small businesses often get told, here's what you need to do, here's what you need to do. But they don't have the resources to do it. Now, you can find training, you can find mentorship, but nobody's going to take care of that 78,000 and lots more for you that CMMC costs. And some folks just get daunted by how much is out there that they have to do, and they have to do it all simultaneously just to get their business going. DCAA compliant cost accounting system. You know, I got to hire someone for HR. I've got to hire someone for recruiting. Oh yeah. I've got to get all these things in place. And by the way, go after contracts, and I have zero past performance. Well, get on a team. All right, I'll get on a team. Yay me. The prime says, what's your past performance? Can I see your experience in these labor categories? None, but pick me because I'm really nice and I know you want to give me a hand. And it doesn't work that way. So there's a little bit of luck involved in this. You know, we go back to perseverance. We go back to Pinot Grigio. I don't know about pivoting. You're just trying to get in the game. But if you don't and you become a casualty, then what's going to happen to our defense industrial base if all of you decide the same thing? And so this, to wrap it up, this conversation is a lot more important than the things we make light of. But we make light of them when we can because it kind of shows our sense of camaraderie, and women do camaraderie really well.
All right. Well, with that, we will wrap up this last episode of GovCon After Hours. Thank you guys for being with us.
You. Thanks,
and
thanks,
like
Irene.
and subscribe, always and forever. Oh, sorry. What was that, Robin?
I was just saying thank you, Irene. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Appreciate you being
Thanks,
here.
ladies.
Thank you.
No, I really appreciate you. It was a lot of fun. So thanks again.